everyone, and welcome to this episode of Flow with the Flow. I'm very excited to have Katie as our guest here today. Katie has more than 2 decades of experience in this industry. She started her journey with ADP. From there, she joined Career Minds. And over the course of a decade, she rose up to become the VP of sales at Career Minds and helped them go through the transition and eventual acquisition by Talent Inc. From there, she's now a VP of sales at Leoforce. Leoforce, if you're not familiar, is an AI-powered recruitment solutions, a bunch of different things. Katie is going to tell us all about that. So, Katie, before we dive into talking about the industry and the AI, I couldn't help but notice that you were a mentor at the Girls Club. Um, Now, this industry, right? I think severely lacks women's representation at the executive level, right? Like so, C level. You've been VP of sales at some amazing companies, and you've been a mentor, right? Like this is a topic that you're passionate about. Why do you think that is, number one? And what can we do as an ecosystem to change that?
So, I think for years, the tradition, I don't really want to get into the traditional gender roles, but I think that has to go back a long way of women gradually moving into the workforce. And now we're at a point that women are about 50% of the workforce, but the gap at the top still remains. So, and that's in general, right? I think we've all heard the statistics that there's more Fortune 500 CEOs named John than there are women Fortune 500 CEOs. Now, hopefully, that's on the path to changing. There's some wonderful Fortune 500 CEOs out there that are women and men as well. The thing about staffing, though, that's a little unique is that 36% of staffing firm founders are women and 40% of CEOs in the staffing industry are women. So if we're comparing that to other industries, that's actually, I don't want to say that's not bad because I still don't want to diminish that big gap, but it's doing better than other industries. But there's still ways and pathways for women. And I'm not just saying women, but other underrepresented communities as well, right? LGBTQ, people of color at the top, at C level, at VP level. I'm super passionate about bringing everyone with me. And so they have to be able to, when they get to the top, use their privilege to be able to make sure that they're identifying the best people from backgrounds and ensuring we have diverse thoughts at all levels of the company, right? So shout out to staffing that does better, but there's still a lot of ways to do that. I'll also talk about the Talent Collective, which is in staffing. It is specifically for women. They have a great podcast. They have a ton of events. And if somebody is looking to do things like that, and that's for people who identify as she, her, for women, for trans people, and it's just really anybody that's kind of looking to get into this community that's part of an underrepresented group, I would absolutely shout them out to go and take a look at what they have to offer as well.
Yeah, I think I've heard about them. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Recently, Leoforce rebranded and came up. So logo changed, and also this, right? Like outcome-based recruiting. Can you help us understand very briefly what Leoforce does? And when you say outcome-based recruiting, what do you mean?
Okay. So Leoforce is a talent technology company, right? Everything we do is driven by our proprietary AI. Been out there in the marketplace working for 11 plus years. On average, that's about 2 times faster than competitors too. There's a lot of AI companies popping up right now, but we're combining that with expert human oversight. And with that, we're delivering these outcome-based solutions. That's programmatic advertising, that is candidate sourcing and engagement, scoring and ranking, qualified applicant delivery. And outcome-based is exactly what it sounds. We're driving these outcomes. Our goal is to do it at a faster pace, more high quality, pool, more affordable, more transparent, more predictable cost. And that's really the key. What makes us different from other outcome-based solutions, and when we're saying outcome-based, meaning we are driving to that specific performance, specific outcome. So for us, it could either be an engaged candidate or a specific apply, an active apply. Anywhere else that's driving that programmatic advertising, you've been told it's the quantity that is meaningful. So you got to pay for the quantity. You got to pay for the quantity. And we believe that's one of these myths here in recruiting right now. So we're kind of flipping that on its head and we're driving the quality, because what the quantity messaging has been is that now recruiters have a overwhelming pool of applicants that you need to look at to find that needle in a haystack without that quality filter applied. I had a prospect who, from one of her sources, told me they had 80,000 applicants in a year. This source was costing her hundreds of thousands of dollars. They hired 19 people from this pool of applicants. So that kind of puts that into perspective of the quantity over quality, adding hours, weeks, months of manual work. And we're changing that. And as a result, our clients see a positive impact on these recruiting metrics, right? That everyone is challenged with. At the end of the day, what do recruiting teams want? This challenge persists despite AI still coming on the market. You're looking for better quality applicants faster and cheaper, ideally, right? So we're able to deliver that, decrease time to interview, decrease time to place or hire, decrease cost per hire and applicant, increased applicant and candidate quality. So we're enabling them to adopt AI without adopting AI.
That's so well put. Adopt AI without adopting AI. I want to double click a little bit on that. But does that mean that instead of so the traditional model, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Traditional model has been that, hey, you create a campaign, you put a budget of that on that campaign, let's say, $10,000 of budget on that campaign, and then, you sit back and get 20,000 applicants come in, and then you figure out, okay, who's worth talking to. So instead of, paying for those 20,000 people, right? Like most of them might not be even relevant to the role. With Leoforce, as an operator, as a marketer, I'm paying for either a qualified candidate or an actually qualified as well as engaged candidate.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. In our core services, so we have something called applicants on demand. It's literally what it sounds. Instead of we just sending you every applicant that we're generating through AI, and it's kind of a people plus technology approach, right? We are using AI to generate this applicant and candidate pool using outbound and inbound techniques to get that, right? With the AI backing that up. And then we have human oversight. So we're ensuring we're qualifying them to the job, to the role, to the location, to the pay rate, and essentially acting as an extension of your team.
Fantastic. You mentioned something interesting, so I want to kind of go back on that, right? Like delivering this with AI without using AI. I can't exactly remember the phrase. Um, Help me double click on that, right? What do you mean there?
Yes, that's kind of what we're aiming to do. What we have experienced in the past 2 years since I've been at Leoforce, we have an AI platform. We also have a team of recruiters who are experts in using our AI platform. That's how we're delivering our outcome-based solutions. What we have learned, and this is real talk, going to market with that AI platform, is that AI is totally changing, and we know this, right? It's totally changing the way that you're doing work for the better, but that means it's change management. And if we kind of peel back the onion, there's only about a 23% adoption rate for HR tech, which is crazy. And actually, that's the highest adoption rate according to this Korn Ferry study. But we've experienced something similar. It's been difficult for recruiting teams because it requires introducing another tool to an already expansive tech stack, right? Usually we have multiple sources, we have an ATS. So we're asking them to totally change the way that they're doing things and let's learn something new. And if they're saying, hey, this works, that's a lot. So we're trying to drive change management. The stakeholders are trying to drive change management. And so what we've learned is that if we can do this, because we know how it works, we have clients that are super successful on it, but then we also have clients that are just like, just give me the outcome. That's how we're able to flip that and say, let us take on this manual work and deliver you this outcome that at the end of the day, you still want. That's the goal. It almost doesn't necessarily matter how we get there, but in the meantime, we can help you see the benefits from AI, those reduced leading and lagging indicators, because we know how to use it and you don't have to spend the time doing it, but we're still reducing your costs. You don't have to spend time learning something new. You can kind of preserve the way you're doing things. You don't have to add extra headcount as you scale and as you grow. Do you get to reap all of these benefits of AI without necessarily adopting AI?
That kind of gets me to a different question, right? Like, so you mentioned, so change management is always difficult, and you are speaking to a lot of executives in the industry. What's the mood like when it comes to AI, right? Like, how are executives, how are operators looking at this, massive change in technology that we seem to be at the cusp of?
They know they need to do it. I would say overwhelmingly, there's interest in AI. They know that it's something they have to adopt or they're going to get left behind. And we've seen a lot of early adopters do that. And then sometimes, I mean, as you could see with the 23% adoption rate, it doesn't work out how they think it's going to. So then they back off, right? Which can be a shame. But they know that they have to figure out how they can make it work for them. And those are the people that in the long run are going to win. So and we've had a lot of learnings from this ourselves, obviously, right? So that what we're delivering and what we're bringing forward is one way that we can do that. Another way that people can do that just on a daily basis is using ChatGPT, right? So that's something that they can use to write their emails. They can ask them to write a 3 email campaign to send for this specific job so they can use it to personalize and those types of things. So even if we're taking baby steps, that's one way to do it. But you also have to be aware that AI is not magic. So even if you're coming into this, you can't be thinking that AI is going to do all of this for me and I don't have to do anything, right? And maybe we're kind of getting into something else about adopting AI in your whole process, which I'm happy to talk about because I have a lot of thoughts about that too. But at the end of the day, people know how to do it. They're just not sure how to do it yet.
Very interesting. Let's kind of flip this, right? So we understand, right, like how our executives, our operators looking at AI, right? Like, but I think there is a much bigger change in terms of the candidates and how they are interacting with HR tech, right? Like, there was an old, so we originally had those, long forms, right? Like where you would put in all
Yes.
the details and then you would also put on your resume, and they would hardly ever be mobile friendly. So, so from there we moved on to, let's say, chatbots, right? Like chatbots are fantastic. And now we have, in a lot of cases, you are, as a candidate, right? Like, you are either interacting with an agent, or the information that you are putting in, whether on a form or on a bot, writing, a lot of times before it gets to a human, it is going to get assessed and filtered by an agent, right? Like, so that that's a lot of that's a massive change in terms
Yeah.
of how in terms of the candidate experience. um how are you guys thinking about that?
As far as AI goes, AI should be automating and doing the manual, repetitive, cumbersome tasks so that humans have more time, excuse me, to spend on the candidate experience. That at the end of the day should be the goal, right? A Bullhorn study actually found that 80% of candidates are fine with AI being used in the recruiting process as long as it speeds that up, which means that, and I think we all know if we've ever applied to the job, there's a lot of frustration in looking for jobs. It is a really stressful process. I think in the top 20 things of stressors, it's in there, right? Looking for a job. And people often complain, like you said, Manan, it's too long. I have to put my information in duplicative, multiple areas, the same stuff. I don't hear back from anyone. I get a form letter. I don't know what my status is. And AI can help with all of those things, right? So you can use AI to make the process better, but then AI can also help free up the recruiter so that they spend time with the candidate. That's the goal. And the more that people can use AI and learn how to harness AI, the big differentiator remains the human element. Because no one is saying, wow, that chatbot is great. I really want to go work for that company. Or this apply process was nice, you know. What they're saying is that interview that I had with this recruiter was awesome. I'd really love to work at that company. That has not changed. So we need more time for that. And that's the magic of AI.
Fantastic. Now, do you think that, the over the course of the next few years, right? Like it's probably too early to tell right now, but you know, AI will become so ubiquitous, right? Like it one way or another, right? Like almost everybody will get habituated with, talking to AI agents, right? So today, if you there are a lot of, you go and talk to whoever your telecom operator is and, ping their support line, right? Like 90% of the cases you will be first speaking with an AI agent, right? Like, so do you think that this will change people's expectations of what a good candidate experience is?
I do. And I mean, AI is the new internet. I mean, for lack of a better term, right? I mean, you have to get on it. It's going to change everything that we do. And AI has been around for years and years and years. Even when I was at Career Minds, we were using AI in that process, but people didn't really want to hear about it. They just wanted to hear about what it could do for you. So we could apply that and it sped things up. So, I mean, we've been interacting with AI for a long time. Now it's getting the marketing, right? Now we're talking about it because now it's becoming the generative AI. So we're moving into that next stage of what it can really apply and speed things up at an alarming rate. Like we're reducing 99% of manual work. That's a crazy statistic. And it certainly is one to cause like, hold on, is that really true? So I understand why people might be skeptical, but I absolutely think that people will become more comfortable with it. I absolutely think that that also comes with AI getting better and more driving experience of the parts of interactions that people are okay with having done by AI. But at the end of the day, if I call my credit card company, if I call my bank, if I call something for customer success, and it requires a human, I still want to be able to get to that human very, very quickly. And that's going to drive a great experience, just like a great AI will also drive a great experience. So I think it can go hand in hand. And you have to think about where's the right place to apply AI? Where's the right place to apply a human?
Makes sense. Except now, another difficult topic, right? Like, especially when I speak with executives, is that, hey, active candidates, that's great, right? Like, sometimes you can have a little bit of, um, subpar experience, right? Like, because, they have higher intent for this particular job. On the other hand, right, like the challenge is passive candidates, right? Like, what can from from your perspective, from Leoforce's perspective, right? Like how is AI impacting uh, you know, your ability to engage and hire those passive candidates?
I just like anything else, it's having a positive impact. And I really see AI transforming the passive candidate recruiting and engagement in three key things. So one, the search and match. Two, talent pooling is pretty cool what you can do with AI and speed that up. And then the personalized outreach automation, right? And so before we even get to kind of the outreach and engagement, AI should be making finding passive candidates better, faster, easier. One source I think that has always been neglected by recruiters is that candidate pool that you have in your ATS. I mean, I talk to people, they have millions of people in their ATS, and we're saying, okay, what are you doing to search that? They're not really anything, right? That you paid for that. That's if you have a million candidates in there, that's probably millions of dollars that you've spent on that pool. And yeah, sure, some of it could be outdated, but what you can use and apply to AI is searching that passive pool automatically, just like you're going out and you're searching your other sources, because these people have already potentially applied to a job. You've talked to them about something, they've gotten communications from your company, they're warm. So, as compared to a cold passive candidate, this is a warm passive candidate. And so, this is one way that you can be able to kind of tap into a new pool is searching and matching your existing database. And AI can help to do that a little bit better than how it's been done previously. The other thing that's really exciting is our AI talent pooling. And so we can do both of these things too, but essentially putting in a couple keywords. Now we're kind of beta testing a new version of our sourcing platform, but I could essentially say, show me candidates, HVAC technicians in the Philadelphia area. We can put this in prompt and send them a 3-email sequence personalized with the job summary, the pay rate, and the hours that they would have. And in 30 seconds, I could see all of the people from all of my sources that fit this talent pool and send them a personalized email. That is so much more meaningful. I get emails about being a speech language pathologist. I get texts about applying to nursing jobs, totally missing the mark. As a marketer, Manon, segmenting is so important. And so I also see being able to apply kind of these segmenting and talent pooling to this process that enables you to provide personalized, meaningful outreach to a qualified talent pool who you know will welcome that message, as opposed to spraying and praying. And then now we have that, we can use AI and automation to, again, set up cadences. We can use ChatGPT to personalize an email very, very quickly to an individual, to one or one to many. So, of course, that also speeds up that process as well, because people are used to getting form emails that aren't personalized to them. So AI is enabling you to do a better search for the right candidate with the right message at the right time.
So you mentioned, right, like we can use AI to, to search and match and candidate pooling, right, like talent pooling. Now when we are doing search and match, right, AI is basically going to be fantastic at doing pattern recognitions. But when the underlying data itself has biases, there is a very good chance that your algorithm will inherit those biases. At Leoforce, what are you guys doing to, what are the guardrails in place to make sure that we don't perpetuate the same biases that we've always had?
Yes, I think that's a great question that everyone should be asking about AI in general, right? AI is human-led, but that also means, just like you're saying, Manon, it can pick up those human patterns. So our AI goes under continuous monthly internal bias audits. I mean, it's something that we're doing consistently, and we're doing it ourselves internally monthly, but then also we have an annual external bias audit that we do as well. And we have found to be non-biased. Any little teeny tiny things of bias that we may find, we have a team that's looking at that and adjusting that immediately. Beyond that piece, data security is also something that people talk a lot, right? We're ingesting a ton of data for a bunch of different sources. That is very, very important. We take that very, very seriously as well. So we're also New York bias compliant, GDPR compliant, ISO 2701, I believe 2022 compliant. We just got recertified. I participate in all of these certifications, SOC 2 compliant. So we take that very seriously, as I mentioned, just like any AI partner should be doing because of the ability to consume all of this data. It should be a thought and it should be a concern.
You also opened up another issue about privacy, and especially right, like globally, so Europe came out with GDPR. I know that India is working on something. So almost every large uh, country, every large legal system is working on some way of protecting privacy. So your AI needs to consume a ton of data, right? And then there is obviously a concern about privacy and consent, right? Like, so, um, can you help us understand, right? Like, how are you taking care of, while you're training your algorithms, right? Like, you're still protecting people's privacy.
Yeah. So, I mean, how we're specifically doing that, every client gets their own instance, right? And so we get asked almost in every meeting that we have, how are you ensuring that my data is not commingled with anyone else's data? It's something we would never, ever, ever do. And while we do have external data sources to also train our AI, we use about a pool of 850 million candidates. It's all publicly available data. So we're not using anything that's privately available. This is all publicly available data that people have put out there, agreed to, and that's how we're able to use that to train our AI as well. As far as our clients go, in the US, obviously, it's a little bit different than GDPR, but if we do have candidates in GDPR, we will ask consent. So we automatically ask consent before we provide any contact information. We send any messaging to them about jobs. In the US, even as well, if we're sending text messages, we automatically send a consent message that they have to opt in to that text before we're able to send it. And if they don't, then that's it. And the technology automatically takes care of that. So we are working on making sure we're ensuring privacy on behalf of our clients' data, but also on behalf of the candidates' data and their request to not be included in that as well.
Katie, there is a lot of talk about AI, right? Like, and there is a certain sense of fatigue about AI, right? Like, and there is this fear that extensive automation is going to disengage with I'm going to disengage with my candidates, and so the AI burn, right? Like, the people are calling it the AI burn. What are your thoughts about that? And how do you think, operators and recruiters can maintain that right balance between automation and, you know, really helping those candidates, those people out?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all anyone is talking about, right?
Yeah.
In almost any industry, and it's a topic of conversation, which is good. But I think what my experience has been is when, because AI is so new, is that when people kind of come in, we were selling an AI sourcing platform, they come into the platform and they just expect it to do everything for them, right? And there's a lot of things that automation can do, but at the end of the day, AI is a skill. And I don't know if people are realizing that AI, to get it to work and working its best in what we do on a day-to-day basis, AI needs to be human driven. If you go on ChatGPT, you have to put a prompt in, right? To get it to give you the best information. AI takes its prompts from humans. So, hot take, because I know everyone's talking about AI is taking our jobs. AI is not going to take recruiters' jobs. Recruiters who know how to use AI will take recruiters' jobs who don't. And that may sound harsh, and it's not meant to sound harsh, but you have to know how to use AI. It's the next internet. I think we already talked about that, right? And the other flip side of that is that AI burn. So, how can we get it to work for us in the best, most effective way to drive that candidate experience? Let's automate the mundane, repetitive tasks that can be automated. We can automate the sourcing, we can automate the engagement, but the content of the search and the content of the engagement can still be human led, but we can use AI to make those easier. So at the end of the day, we aren't automating to death. We're still driving that candidate experience where, again, that human interaction is the differentiator. The great process of being recruited by a company and interviewing with the company is a differentiator as well that people will not forget.
And you're absolutely right about that. And we spoke about this briefly earlier as well, right? Like there is, over the course of the next few years, again, my opinion is that we will see a completely new paradigm shift in terms of how humans interact with machines, right? Like, and um, there is probably going to be a little bit of turbulence ahead because we are going through this transition. But at the end of the day, right? Like, I don't think anybody can put it better than what you just said, right? Like, AI probably is not going to replace recruiters, but a recruiter who knows her way around AI is probably going to outcompete you. I really like that. Katie, you gave us some idea about outcome-based recruiting. That is fantastic. Help us paint the picture, right? So tell us a story. We don't need to, know the name of the client and things like that. But, you know, what was the situation? What were the challenges? Um, Here come the hero, Leoforce, and what was the outcome that you were able to deliver for that client?
That's a really, really good question. I have a couple. I'll go to one because I know that this is a big challenge for healthcare recruiters is nursing recruiting. And it's a challenge for them. And I think that they experience the quantity over quality pain really, really deeply. And I hear a universal story when I'm talking to healthcare recruiters looking for nurses is that, yeah, we have our jobs open on these platforms, but we get truck drivers and fast food workers applying to RN positions. And people need truck drivers and fast food workers, but they should be applying to those positions, right? Those aren't qualified. And so in that pool of some RNs, you're getting these totally unqualified folks for that specific role. It'd be the same thing if an RN was applying to a truck driver position. They're not qualified for that. So this nationally ranked and a recognized healthcare provider came to us. They were looking to drive a higher set of higher quality applicants. They needed to close these jobs faster, right? Obviously, if the jobs are open, they can't provide care at the level that they need to. And of course, I mean, they need to be able to drive revenue as well, just like any other organization, so that the hospital system can stay afloat. So in the first 6 months, we were able to deliver 6,000 qualified applicants to them. They were able to close 3,000 jobs. Due to the quality of candidates, we started with one state. They expanded to 10 states. They doubled their budget because of how great the quality and how quickly these applicants were coming in, quicker than they were able to before. They saw a 42% month over month increase in qualified applicants and a 50% increase in jobs closed per month after starting to work with applicants on demand. And that's just within like the first 6 months, right? So that relates there. They were one of our first clients. This was over 2 years ago, and they're still working with us, and they still have these applicants on demand campaigns open. So it's working. And we have many other stories that are very, very similar to that. And again, it's not just like we're posting on a job board and we're seeing what we get. We have that human interaction where they can give feedback, they can tweak jobs, they can change jobs, and we'll get on it right away. So it's kind of that best of both worlds. It's the people plus technology, Manan.
Katie, you've been an executive for more than 2 decades. Are there any newsletters, podcasts, books that you found to be really, really helpful that you would like to recommend to our audience?
Sure. Well, I already recommended the Talent Collectives. I think it's called Hire Her. That's for women in staffing, but I think anyone can benefit from listening to that. as far as AI goes, there's a lot of good newsletters that are coming out on LinkedIn. I like those because I get alerts that they're sharing new content and things like that. Two things that I follow on LinkedIn are the Fast Company's AI Decoded. So I like it because it's short. I think we all have shorter time frames to do a lot of things and to learn stuff. And so it just kind of gives you bite-sized pieces of information of AI in the news and kind of decoding AI. And then another one that I really like is called the Atlas Generation AI. So they kind of talk about a lot of trends that are happening in AI as well. So I would recommend both of those, the Atlas and then Fast Company's AI Decoded on LinkedIn.
No, well, that's fantastic. That's those are especially at scale, right? Like those are incredible numbers. All right, you've been an absolute pleasure, Kate.
Likewise, Nan, it was so great to meet you.